Doesn't us being here now mean it never happened?
So, Christopher Nolan's Tenet has garnered many mixed reactions amongst critics and audiences who have seen the film. As you know, I personally really enjoyed his latest project, and over 4 re-watches of it, the film has only got better and better. In this video, I'm going to be discussing the reasons why I think Christopher Nolan's Tenet is a film that will last and grow over the next few years. This video will contain brief spoilers, so if you do happen to be someone who hasn't seen the film, then I would recommend watching this video afterwards. If you want to see more on the film, including a new explained video coming soon, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoy this upload, remember to give it a like rating. Without further ado, let's dive into why I believe Christopher Nolan's Tenet is ahead of its time. So if you've seen my review and video essays on Christopher Nolan's latest film, you'll know that I really enjoyed watching it, but I also had issues the first time around. These were smaller problems that many viewers also picked up on, like the emotional connection to the protagonist, the sound mixing in the film, and how the ideas presented could have been represented in a way which made them more slightly accessible for audiences across the board. For me, on rewatch, many of these issues have disappeared or become less of a problem, as now I understand the film to a greater degree and also gather that the intention and reason behind these filmmaking choices were in fact on purpose. Now, although I currently rank Tenet at number 7 on my Nolan ranked list, as I said in that video and other videos that I have done on the film, Tenet is made to be rewatched and appreciated over time, and isn't necessarily a piece of art which should be devoured so quickly and never watched again due to the nature of its concepts and the meanings behind the characters through the way Nolan represents them. Tenet has extreme rewatchability because of the depth explored through detail and the overall motivation of the story. Don't get me wrong, Tenet is a complicated film and one that has received a high amount of mixed ratings and loads of pressure placed on it due to everything currently going on in the world. Nolan's at the point in his career now where he's gone from hit films to incredibly thoughtful and nuanced approaches on cinema that whatever route he goes in, there will be criticism. He's developed a fan base that all expect different things from him as a filmmaker, and he can't please everyone. But with Tenet, I believe we got a Nolan film which the world wasn't ready for. One which pushed the experience of watching a film, one which pushed action cinema in a completely new direction, and one which the audience and other filmmakers can take some influence from, even if that particular person didn't necessarily love the film. Tenet is Nolan at his most stripped back as a filmmaker, and it tackles ideas which get to the heart of the movie-going experience and how time is used within a film to manipulate the way an audience watches a narrative unfold. But starting with the story. In Tenet, we get a film which on first watch, many of us have been perplexed over surrounding the point of the plot and its importance. Well, to begin with, we are looking at a story which involves every human being on the planet, and not just through the threat to the entire world, but the simple fact that the film is dealing with the idea of being programmed to look at the world through a very small hole, which within this involves how time controls us all. The protagonist is thrusted into a world which he doesn't fully understand, one which at first tests whether he would sacrifice his own friends and people around him to simply save himself. He doesn't do this, of course, and is eventually inducted into Tenet to face a threat and a war on time using what we know as inversion or the entropy of people and objects. The character is like the audience, not prepared nor not knowing of what is necessarily happening to begin with, and has to quickly adapt to the situation and the events to stop this threat from affecting everyone on the planet. Like the opening 30 minutes of the film, we gather that the protagonist cares about saving people he barely knows and would sacrifice himself for their survival. There's this argument that Nolan writes his characters as cold, emotionless ones which lack any depth or substance. But through this opening example with the protagonist, we see quite the opposite. The protagonist is a character which in the eyes of his country and the government has died. While the world struggles and is deeply divided through its militaristic situation, the protagonist is someone who is aligned with this persona to come at the problem not just through his own inner emotional desire, but also a desire to share himself in this deeply damaged world. To offer yourself up to solve something which you don't fully understand, yet while also being thrown out by your own military, shows the strength that John David Washington's character has. It's only Neil who connects himself to the protagonist, and by the end of the film we know why he did that. This comes down to the idea of separating yourself from a particular humanistic identity because of the situation at play. If Nolan was to interweave an entire emotional backstory into this concept, it would only destroy the point of his character. But because he's such a strong filmmaker, he was able to preserve the emotional resonance discussed earlier and carry that essence through the protagonist's willingness to solve this particular problem, and also his growing connection and sympathy to people he doesn't quite understand yet. It all boils down to sacrificing yourself and your identity to stop an issue which on the surface seems beyond your control as a human being. Time controls all of us as human beings, and even when Sator threatens to invert the entropy of the world and kill everyone and everything on the planet, the protagonist is willing to save it all. Nolan has been fascinated with time throughout his life and his filmmaking career, and approaching it head on with Tenet through the entire point of the narrative should be enough for the audience to relate on the simple basis because of the focus on the situation at play. It can be noted that Christopher Nolan further preserved the emotional resonance of the film through the other characters that the protagonist becomes involved with. After meeting with Victor and being told that the reason he passed the initial test was because of his humanity to put his life in front of his team, the protagonist encounters Neil for a meaningful exchange, and then on to Priya and eventually Kat, the estranged wife of Sator. Kat knows that the protagonist isn't a billionaire like his disguise suggests, and emotionally connects with him because, like her, he is placed into a situation which he cannot remove himself from. They are both linked to a life they didn't mean to choose. While looking at Kat, she deeply cares about her son, and to her it's the only thing that matters, while Sator expresses his complete control over her through him. When she meets the protagonist, she doesn't want him getting involved with the pain she has been through, and believes Sator will kill him before any opportunity arises. Nolan creates this empathy through the need of no backstory, and rather through the performances and action of the characters in this ongoing situation. Sator is the manifestation of a loveless monster, and someone who on the surface would crush anyone below him. It's not until the protagonist defies this statement that his and Kat's connection expand throughout the rest of the film. It's the stripped back approach to creating conflict and emotional reaction which Nolan goes for, and it's a method you don't see explored in many action thrillers on the scale that Tenet was made with. The protagonist's effort to fight for something beyond himself is a reason that I personally didn't focus on as much the first time around, but when you see this depth of complexity, it makes the whole story that much more important to watch and delivers on the spine that Nolan put in place. It's about posterity and being a guardian for your future self, even if it means doing it from the complete opposite direction. As the film ends in a point of time which is around where it begins, the protagonist has closed the loop of the narrative and attempted to solve the situation from that past time. Neil echoes this point of being a protector for your future self through his line, "What happened, happened," and by having faith in the mechanics of the world. It's a message that sums up the main character's journey as someone who will put himself on the line physically and emotionally to save future generations, even if his connection with some of these people is just beginning. A lot of the negative reasons outlined by audiences and critics were ones that flooded my mind after watching the film once. On first experience, so much is thrown at you that it becomes difficult to really engage with some of the characters and things that happen in the film. But on second watch and my screenings that followed, you start to see these moments through a different lens. The film appears slower and more deconstructible as you know as an audience member what you are getting yourself into. You can see more clearly the moments of emotion through the protagonist's motives, and the action is only heightened through that. Nolan has approached head-on with a particular story, how cinema can manipulate time and the audience through editing. Time already manipulates us, and thanks to the mammoth task left on his new editor Jennifer Lame, we see this idea play out in Tenet. As Nolan referenced in the Secrets of Tenet book that released a few weeks ago, the camera literally sees time. Before the camera, before cinema, there was no way for human beings to visualize either a still frame or reverse chronology by visually seeing things backward. It's purely the product of the mechanism of the camera that allows us a great insight into reality, or another way of looking into it. Cinema manipulates time. It gives us a story that takes place over different variations of time and presents itself to us, resulting in reaction and interaction. Tenet is self-aware in that it tackles the concept of time, which is within the foundation of cinema and related to every single audience member themselves. Nolan has essentially made the audience feel time, and the situations and concept of the film is already enough for us to follow the protagonist. But on rewatch, when we see the added emotional nuance, it makes the whole experience of Tenet even better. Another point to make, which I was quickly transitioning into, is that the filmmaking in Tenet is something that already elevates the film as one that has to be seen more than once. The new approaches introduced in the film to manipulate the action through time, such as filming entire scenes in reverse and having the actors actually perform in reverse, is another layer of depth that makes the magic of the film shine through as an even greater experience. Many modern filmmakers would most likely opt to shoot some of the scenes using CGI, or just reverse the footage and face difficulties with the consistency in realism. Nolan has consistently portrayed the effort he would go to when capturing something as difficult as inversion in Tenet. There are scenes like the red and blue room sequence, which capture actors in forward and backward motion from numerous camera angles, which if stopped and played, you see that it was almost impossible to capture using cinematography from the angles that he did. I think as a filmmaker, Nolan is ahead of many working today. He has developed so many scenic instances using camera trickery, just like the zero gravity and practical hallway sequence from Inception, which work to suspend the viewer increasingly into disbelief. This plays into what I was suggesting, which involves Tenet being a film that is beyond what many could capture in today's landscape. Cinema was founded on creativity and opening up a new portal into the way a story could be told and filmed through time. Tenet as experiential cinema gets to the heart of this idea. It breaks the traditional and offers a new way of watching a character try and solve a high-stakes problem that he and the audience aren't ready for. It's an audio-visual experience that, through complexity in its soundtrack, its metaphoric costume design, its unique story and mind-blowing concepts, poses the question of how a film viewer watches a film. The landscape has become so concerned with the single viewing experience, and at times can decide on whether a film is good or bad after one watch. But why a film like Tenet is so deep concerns it being a project that can only be fully unpacked and even critiqued as a storyline after multiple viewings. This is what made films of the past, similar to 2001: A Space Odyssey, so long-lasting over the history of cinema. Rewatchable cinema which commands your attention and forces you into a situation which you are simply not ready for. I appreciate this kind of filmmaking as it takes its time to fully manifest on the mind of viewers and at the same time offers a new perspective on the genres it tackles. For me, Christopher Nolan is exactly the kind of director we should be supporting when it comes to industry progression. Don't get me wrong, it can be easy to get lost in what Tenet is trying to say because of the spectacle and practical elevation that Nolan delivered with his latest film. But lying under the surface of what is meant to be an experience watched multiple times is the emotion. We can't see the full picture until we fully gather what the artist is trying to say with their work, and through filmmaking, story and characters, once we see these details, the whole project is lifted based on this knowledge. I would rather watch a film like Tenet, which gives you many different concepts and ideas to think about, than one which, quite frankly, is something we as an audience are used to seeing on quite a consistent basis. One which you've already worked out the ending to, and a film that takes quite an unrealistic and unbelievable approach to filming an already bare basic plotline. Tenet goes beyond this to mix up the order of how to make and experience filmmaking. This is at the heart of cinema's roots, and I think Tenet will be appreciated much more as the film is revisited, just like I had the experience of seeing unfold over many re-watches. But that was my video exploring why I personally believe that Christopher Nolan's Tenet is ahead of its time. I do think that more people will watch the movie over the years and see things in the film on rewatch that make the experience a whole lot better. It's a movie-going experience that I think a lot of audiences weren't ready for, and overall, I believe Tenet is a film that was built to last. But let me know down below what your thoughts were towards Tenet and whether you think the film will last as we move through time into the future. For more videos on Tenet and other upcoming films and TV shows, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating. I will be doing a final video on Tenet before taking a break from the film in the next week, so make sure to keep a lookout for whenever I post this video. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.